Good morning and welcome, I'm Fly and today we're going to learn how to play the 1 to 4 player game Nucleum. In this game you are an industrialist trying to succeed in the technological and economic boom during the 19th century in Saxony. You'll be building stuff, powering up urban buildings, fulfilling contracts, and all of this will be reflected into victory points at the end of the game. And the player with the most victory points wins the game. Setup. First, place the game board in the middle of the table. And make sure to choose the side appropriate to your player count. We will be setting up a game for 3 players here, so keep that in mind. Next, take this sideboard and place it next to the main board like this. Take these wagon cobble tiles and place them with a side -1 face up on the indicated spaces of the main boards. Remember, if you're playing with 3 players, leave this space open. There are 2 spots for these tiles, one on the left side of the board and the other on the top right side of the board. Take this token and place it below the 70 on the victory point track. Take all of these green cubes, the money and these stars and place them in a supply next to the main board. These are action tiles. Separate the ones without dots from the ones with dots in the middle and set the ones with dots aside for now. These tiles, the ones without dots, give them a little shuffle, then depending on your player count, you will have to separate a fixed number of them. For a 3-player game, we'll separate 15 of them. Once that's done, return the rest of the box, they will not be used in this game, then go back and fetch the rest of the tiles, the ones with dots, then you can mix this all together. Shuffle them, give them a shuffle them well, mix them up. Make a few small piles like this. Add one of these piles to the designated space on the sideboard, then draw 5 tiles to the spaces below it. Keep the other piles nearby. These are contract tiles. They come in 4 flavors: initial, silver, gold and purples. Take the initial contracts and give 1 to each player. Then, for the silver and gold contracts, you'll have to remove a few of them depending on your player count. For a 3-player game, you're going to use 9 silver contracts and 12 gold contracts. You can put the rest in the box, they will not be used. Take these 2 piles and place them on the matching spaces on the sideboard. Then, draw 2 of each category to the spaces below them. The purples come in 3 levels, level 1, 2 and 3. Randomly take 1 from each level and place them on the matching spots on the sideboards, levels 1, 2 and 3. You can return the rest of the purples to the box, they will not be used. These are milestone tiles. Shuffle them and place 1 in each of the indicated spaces on the sideboard. You can return the remaining milestones to the box, they will not be used. These are Nucleum tokens. Take 3 of them and place 1 in each of the designated spaces on the sideboard. These are power plants. Take the one with the high voltage symbol and place it in Riese on this black square of the map along with this token on top. Take the remaining power plants and place 1 of them in each city with this symbol. There are 4 cities in total that take these power plants, so there shouldn't be any left over. These are the setup cards. Shuffle and randomly draw 1 of them. These black square tiles are neutral urban buildings. Shuffle and randomly draw 1 of them and assign it to the city on the first row of the card you drew earlier. Place the building on a red square spot if possible. If not, because it's already occupied, place it on the single icon spots matching the icon of the building's top left corner. Again, if you can't do that because it's already occupied, place it in the double icon spots given one of these icons matches the building icon you're trying to place. If all of the available spots are occupied and you can't place this building, just select another building. Next, take the 4th Nucleum token and add it to the power plants of the city matching this row of the card. These are rubble tokens. Place 1 of them in each city of the 3rd row of the setup card. Always try to place them in the right spots, again if not possible because already occupied, follow the rules as for the urban neutral buildings. If you are playing with fewer than 4 players, cover up these spots with these rubble tokens. This is mining rubble. You're going to place this in the mines of the 3 cities of the last row of the setup card. We are now done with this setup card. Set it aside and draw a second card. You are now going to place 1 neutral building on this city. Now set this card aside and draw a 3rd card and place a 3rd neutral building on this city. And finally, one last time, set it aside and draw a 4th card and add a fourth neutral building to this city. Once that's done, there should now be 4 neutral buildings on the map. You can now take all of the setup cards plus all of the neutral buildings and return them to the box. They will not be needed anymore. These are endgame condition tokens. Place them on the indicated spaces on the sideboard. Randomly assign a first player and give them this first player marker. Player setup. Now each player takes one of these player boards, picks a color, and takes all the components in their chosen color. Take the income markers and place one in each of the leftmost spaces of the income track. Take the building tiles and place each of them on the matching spaces of your player board with this side face up. Take the turbine tokens and place them on the 4 indicated spots of your player boards. Take the mine tiles and place them on the spots to the right of your turbines in the following order: 3, 2, 3, 2. Take 2 workers and place them nearby. These are ones that are available to you. Leave the rest of them in the supply. These are milestone markers. Take 3 of them and place them on the indicated spots of the sideboard. The order in which they are stacked does not matter. Leave the rest of the milestone markers in the supply for now. Take the initial contract you received earlier and place it face up on the bottommost spots for the contract spaces on your player board. Now each player receives 4 money and one of these 100, 200 VB tokens. Now take your victory point marker and place it on the 0 space of the scoring track. Now starting with the last player and going counterclockwise around the table, each player is going to take one of these. These are experiment boards. For each experiment board you have one letter associated with it from A to D. Now you're also going to take all of the components associated with the experiment board you just chose. These include 5 action tiles with your letter on it, which you're going to place in your play area nearby. All the technology tiles from 1 to 8, which you're going to place in your experiment boards in order like this. If any player shows the experiment with the letter B, also give them these 2 special tiles with a yellow B on it. These tiles are not part of your initial set of action tiles. They are a reward for activating this technology tile later on in the game. You're also going to get a turbine effect tile, which you'll place like this. Finally, give each player one set of player aid cards, one of them being for their specific experiments. This game is played over a series of turns around and around the table until 2 of the 5 endgame conditions are met, or 3 in a 2-player game. On your turn, you must do one of the following. Play an action tile from your pool to the leftmost 3 slots at the top of your player boards. Then you can do one or both actions in whichever order you want. While doing this, you can also fulfill one contract. You cannot choose to do this if you have no more free slots at the top of your player board or if you have no more tiles available in your pool. The next thing you can do, you can play an action tile from your pool into a railway space on the boards and placing one of your workers on it. It is now a railway tile. Then possibly you and other players may do actions depending on the color matching of your placements. And finally, the last thing you can do is recharge. This allows you to gain income and retrieve all your tiles from the top of your player board back to your pool. Now let's talk about some of the elements of the map. This will be important for you to understand some of the actions later. The main board is comprised of cities, each of them with their own color, being orange, purple, green and white, except for Praha, which is considered a multicolored city. On the cities you can find urban sites denoted by a black square. On these sites you can place buildings. You can also find mining sites, which are these hexagons. On these mining sites you can build mines. Some urban and mining sites might already be blocked from the beginning of the game, meaning they will not be available. Some cities have power plants. Their function is to process fuel and convert it into energy. Now there are 2 types of fuel in this game: coal and uranium, which is these green cubes. Now every power plant can process coal, but only a power plant with this green token, called a Nucleum, can process uranium. Cities with power plants also have these round spaces in which you can place turbines. Now between cities you have these empty railway spaces called links. Action tiles and workers are placed here to form railways. The cities are considered connected when all of the railway spaces have been filled. If there are no gaps in the link, it is now considered a completed rail line. These links serve 2 main purposes. One of them is to transport fuel around, the other to relay energy to the buildings. Now, over the course of the game, you'll be creating networks. A network is a group of 1 or more cities adjacent to 1 or more links without empty spaces. And your networks are the ones where you have at least 1 railway tile or 1 building. So in this example, both of these cities are parts of both the red player and blue player's networks. To create new networks, all you have to do is to build railway tiles adjacent to the city you want. This is important because railway tiles are the only thing that can be built anywhere on the board. Your own buildings, such as urban buildings and mines, can only be built on your already established networks. This and this are coal production sites. You can't build anything here, their only purpose is to supply power plants with coal through long-distance rails. Also, you cannot use these long-distance rail lines for any purpose other than transporting coal. Networks can be a confusing concept, so let me know in the comments if you have any questions about it. Now let's go over the iconography of the 5 main actions. Because whether you're playing them at the top of your player board or you're placing them as railway lines, you'll be doing actions most of the time. Urbanize. This action allows you to place your urban buildings on the map. Choose any one urban building tile from your player board and pay the cost to the left of its row. Then place it in any of the empty urban site slots, matching your building's icon within your network. If at the beginning of the game you have no networks due to having no pieces on the board, you can place it wherever you want. If you choose to place it in one of these red squares, you have to pay 2 extra money. If there's more than one space available for the building you're trying to build, you must first place it on the single icon space. Industrialize. This action allows you to build mines and turbines onto the map. To do so, choose the mine or turbine you wish to build, pay the costs on the left side of the row, this time not in money but in workers. Return the required workers to the supply, then place it on a matching space on the map within your network, in this case a turbine. Again, if you still have no networks because you have no other components on the map, you can build wherever you want. If you choose to build on one of these red spaces, you need to pay 2 additional coins. Each turbine has an ongoing ability below it. Once you've built a turbine, you gain that ability. If you instead choose to build a mine, again you need to pay the usual costs in workers, return them to the supply, take the mine, and place it on any mine space within your network. Every time you build a mine, you get 1 uranium for every mine you have on the map, including this one you've just built. Every mine has a number of green cubes printed on them. That's how much uranium a mine can store. So if I were to build my second mine here, I would need to pay 2 extra money as usual, and as a bonus I would get an extra uranium. So I would get 2 uranium, because this is my second mine, plus another one for the bonus. And these uranium cubes are stored in the mines, not the one I've just built. I can distribute them however I want within the limitations. If I get a uranium and I can't store it, I can always exchange it for 1 worker. Every turbine is paired with a mine on your player board. Once you've built the mine and turbine that make the pair, you get the reward depicted here in the middle. Develop. This action allows you to get additional action tiles. This is the market from where you can purchase new tiles. This first one is free, the next 2 ones cost 1 coin each, and the following 2 cost 2 coins each. So you take the one you want, pay the cost, and then you add it to your action tile pool. You can repeat this action a second time. If you wish to do so, you need to pay 2 money plus the usual cost of the tile you wish to take. After buying either 1 or 2 tiles, slide the remaining tiles on the market to the right and refill until there are 5 tiles again. Contracts. This action allows you to take more contracts like the one you start with. To do so, take one of the silver or gold contracts from the display and then add it to any empty slots on the right side of your player board. Then gain the benefits of the slot you just attached the contract to. Just a reminder, don't take from the purple contracts, they are not available, you cannot take them with this action. Once you're done, refill the slot from the colored contract you just took. Energize. This action allows you to power up buildings, gaining immediate benefits and victory points at the end of the game. So with this action I can either power up one of my buildings or a neutral building. For this example's sake, let's say I'm powering up one of my buildings. So first you need to select one of the 5 power plants on the map. Let's choose this one here in Pleven. Next you need to find some means of getting fuel there. Again, there are 2 sources of fuel, one of them being coal, the other being uranium. So luckily this city is already connected to a coal production site via this long distance rail. And it's also connected to one of my mines via this completed rail. And for the purposes of transporting fuel and relaying energy, it doesn't matter who the owner of the line is. Now you can transport any amount of coal you want. You pay the cost visible on the tile and flip it to the other side. So if I'm using 3 coal, I pay 3 coins and I flip 3 tiles to the other side. If all the tiles are already flipped, pay the depicted cost and remove the tile from the game. Once all the tiles are removed from the game, it now costs a permanent 3 coins to purchase coal. So again, any power plant has the capacity to process any amount of coal, not just the ones with this green thing. However, only power plants with this green thing, called a Nucleum, are able to process uranium. But not just any amounts. Unlike coal, each power plant with a Nucleum can only process 1 uranium, plus 1 for each turbine in the same city. So if it were like this power plant could process up to 2 uranium. Now before we produce, let's check how much energy our building needs. The number depicted on the top right corner is how much energy it needs, so in this case it needs 3. Now the conversion rate works as follows. Each coal produces 1 energy, while each uranium produces 2 energy. So for the building we're trying to power up, which needs 3 energy, we could either use 3 coal, costing us 3 coins right now, which would produce 3 energy in return, or we could use 2 uranium, which doesn't cost us anything, and it would produce 4 energy, 1 more than what we need right now. Or we can use a combination of both by using 1 uranium, that doesn't cost us anything and produces 2 energy, plus buying 1 coal, that costs us 1 coin, producing 1 energy, so 2 plus 1 would be 3, and it would be enough to power up this building. The uranium cube I've just used goes back to the supply, and the coal tile we've just bought, if it's on the -1, flip it to the other side to the -2 and place it back on the spot. Now flip the building to the other sides. As you can see, it's now lit up, and then you get the rewards. Only receive the rewards on the top and bottom right of the tile. The victory points on the bottom left is just at the end of the game. So in this case we would get 3 of these achievement tokens, just place them in your area nearby, they'll be used for later, and a bump on the money income track. Keep in mind that you can skip the transporting fuel step, provided you already have enough passive production from your ongoing build's turbine abilities. These 2 abilities means that whenever you energize, you get this much extra production bonus. So you could technically power up a building which requires that amount or lower for free. There are other smaller quick actions that appears on tiles like this one, which means you get either 1 worker or 2 money. Or this one, which means you get 1 bump on any one of the income tracks. This tile allows you to do any of the other 5 actions with a discount of 1 money. And these are all the actions that can show up on the action tiles. There might be some variations, some of them might give you a discount on an action, others might have some kind of modifier, but it's always one of these 5. Now let's go into the specifics of the 3 options you have on your turn. So again, you play an action tile from your pool onto the leftmost available slots on top of your player board, and then you do one or the other or both of the actions in whichever order you want. Before, during or after this process, you can complete one of your contracts to the right of your player board, or one of the 3 purple contracts on the sideboard. These contracts are public and they're available to everyone to complete during this action. To complete the contracts, you don't need to spend anything, you just need to meet the requirements. So in this case, you would need to build any 2 buildings on orange cities. Once that's done, you get the reward on the bottom, then flip the tile to the other side and keep it on your play area nearby, and there you have it, a new slot free for a new contract. Most contracts have this icon as a reward. This is the technology icon. On your experiment board, you have a series of technologies with 3 different levels. Levels 1, 2, and 3. So whenever I gain a technology as a reward, in this case I get a level 1 technology, denoted by the icon here, I choose any level 1 technology on my experiment board and slide it to the right to denote it's now active. There are 3 different types of technologies indicated by their color on the background. Blue technologies are an immediate ability. You activate it and that's done. So in this case, you would be able to do an Urbanize action with a discount of 2 money. Orange technologies are ongoing abilities. So whenever you do the action on the left, you get the reward on the right. So in this case, whenever I take the Energize action, I get 1 money. And finally, the purple is the ultimate goal technology tile. It's just victory conditions, where if you meet these conditions on the left, you gain the points on the right. One other thing you can do on your turn is place a railway tile. To do this, take one of the railway tiles from your pool, place it on an empty space, and place one of your workers on top to mark ownership. Keep in mind that the tile you place needs to be adjacent to another city or adjacent to another already existing railway tile. You can place the railway tile in whichever orientation you want, but if you place it in a way that matches the colors, being this is a green tile and I've placed it in a way that matches the green city, I can now do this action. If I place it in a way that both of the colors match, orange with orange, green with green, I can do both actions. Some action tiles are multicolored, so you're always eligible to do this action because the colors always match. On the other hand, this city is always multicolored and will always match any tile you place there. Now let's say I place a railway next to another railway. In this case, not only both of my tiles actions will activate, because green with green and orange with multicolored, but also the owner of this tile, which in this case is the blue player, will be able to perform this orange action because my tile placement matched the color on his tile. Whenever a link with 2 or more tiles is complete, you now proceed to the inauguration bonus. Depending on whether it was a size 2 or 3 link, the player or players involved will receive the rewards on the right. So in this case it was 2 segments, so both the red and blue players will earn 2 advancements on the victory point income track. This means that even if the both segments were belonging to just one player, it would only just activate this reward once. Once that's done, flip all the tiles on the completed link to the other side. This tile can never be used to place a railway. Don't forget that by doing this action, you are permanently giving up one of your action tiles along with the actions printed on it. Be very mindful when doing this. And finally, the recharge action allows you to gain income, place milestone markers, and retrieve all your action tiles from the top of your player board. So first thing, income. Over here you have 3 income tracks, being money, workers, and victory points. So you gain income equal to the visible value on the left of each of your income markers and below your rightmost action tile. So although I could potentially get 10 money and 1 victory point for this track, I'm not, because I'm limited to the amounts of action tiles I've placed to the columns I've placed. So I'm getting 9 money, 3 workers, and 1 point. Take this from the supply and add them to your play area. Next, check how many achievement tokens you have, which are these star tokens. Then take the star of your color from the leftmost spots on the side of the board and place it in a spot of this track which equals or is lower than the number of achievement tokens you have. Keep in mind that you can only place 1 star per tier on this track, and tiers are the various different colors along the track. Also, along and to the right of this track, we have 4 segments. These segments include milestones and nucleums. If you can't place one of your stars in a tier because all of them are already occupied, or because you don't have enough achievement tokens to get to the next tier, you must place it on the 0 space. You immediately get this reward, but at the end of the game, each star here is worth 3 negative points. Then, if there is still a nucleum on the segment in which you've just placed your star, you take it, you place it in a power plant of your choice that doesn't already have a nucleum, and then you gain the immediate reward associated with this power plant. If you place your milestone marker in the top segment, you gain a level 3 technology as a reward. If you place it on the topmost space, you also get 9 victory points immediately. Then discard all of your achievement tokens back to the supply. If you were the last player to take the last star of a stack, also perform the King's Day scoring. The way this works is the player who's furthest ahead on the track gains 6 victory points, and the player who's second gains 2 victory points. And finally, retrieve all your action tiles back to your pool. The first 3 milestone markers you'll use come from this spot on the sideboards. If you need more than this, use the ones in your supply. Now the game ends when 2 of the 5 endgame conditions are met, or 3 of them in a 2-player game. And these 5 conditions are: the action tile draw pile runs out, the contract's draw pile runs out, every player has recharged 3 times, 1 player has hit or crossed the 70 victory point threshold, and when 1 player has unlocked all of their technologies. Whenever a player triggers an endgame condition, take this leftmost marker and place it on the flag spot of the triggered condition. That player also immediately scores 3 victory points. Once the end of the game is triggered, finish the current round up until the person to the right of the person with the first player marker, and then play another rounds so that every player has the same amount of turns. And then proceed to final scoring. Now, if anyone still has any achievement tokens in their possession, they may place one final milestone marker on the milestone track, but without triggering any effects. So over here we have the 5 scoring conditions. All of those we haven't scored yet, that are only triggered at the end of the game. So first up is milestones. To score the milestones, first check the condition. In this case, you get 1 point for every of my yellow buildings on the map. Then we multiply this by our tier multiplier. In this case, we have a multiplier of 3 because the star ended up in this blue section. If we also had a star on this tier, because this part of the tier it's still part of the same segments that this milestone is associated to, it would be 4 plus 3, so 7 times this condition. Next, we have the ultimate technology tile. This is very straightforward. Depending on how many times you completed the condition on the left, you gain the amount of points on the right. Then we score for leftover resources. So for every 2 uranium, 2 workers and 5 money, we score 1 point. Then we have powered up buildings you own. Pick up the points on the bottom left corner of your buildings. These government type buildings, they score in a different way. This building in particular gives me 2 points for every other yellow building in my network. It doesn't matter if the building is mine or not. Building counts itself, so here's one building and here's another yellow. So right here it would be 4 points. Powered up buildings in Praha are worth double points. And finally we score the markers on the income track. So depending on where your income markers ended, you gain the points associated with the respective column. So in this case we would score 10 plus 3 points. And that's it, the player with the most points wins the game. In case of a tie, the tied players share the victory. There are still a few nuances, very small things I didn't cover in the video, so if you still have any questions, place them in the comments down below. Alright, and we're done here. I hope you enjoyed it, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.